adventurers, it's David here. Thank you for following me in my preparation for my summer 2024 Transamerican bicycle ride. I've invested a lot of time researching products and packing lists appropriate for a Transamerican bicycle ride. I read packing lists on Crazy Guy on a Bike and watched videos like this one. I took inventory of what I currently owned and set up a staging area in my garage cabinet to keep all of my packing items in one place. When I lacked a product that I need, like a tent, a taillight, or a pannier set, I read and watched as many reviews as I could on all the different competing products before making a purchase decision. I cheaped out on items that probably won't see much use beyond this summer, or when a cheap option will be able to do 95% of what the more expensive alternative does. I paid close attention to the weights of products upon purchase and separately weighed every item that will accompany me on the stretch limo. By the way, the stretch limo is the name of my bicycle, not the means of transportation I'll be taking this summer. I recorded every item in a spreadsheet, making note of its category and weight. This alone gave me some pause to internally debate the necessity of each item, and it will be helpful on the route when decisions will be made to pare down my belongings. I know there are already items that will not make the cut past Western Colorado, like a down vest and mittens and a stocking cap. I'll hopefully be meeting my wife at that point and she can bring home the cold weather gear since it's late spring and high elevations, those will be behind me. I'll show each of the items and remark on them if something comes to mind. I'll share about luggage, camping items, clothing, outerwear, footwear, cooking/drinking items, toiletries/health items, technology, tools and maintenance, bike accessories, and then other items that don't fit into any of the other categories. Starting with the camping products, the single heaviest item I'll be bringing is this Marmot tungsten 2-person tent. And I researched tents a lot, and I recognize that there are lighter tents, but at what cost? At a significantly higher cost. This is over 6 pounds, and yeah, I looked at things like the MSR Hubba Hubba, and I would have loved to have one of those, but those are $550. You can't find them at a discount. I looked used, and just with no luck. So yeah, this thing's, it's a lightweight backpacking tent, but certainly not an ultralight one. And it's pretty long. They make specific bike packing tents, which have poles that compress shorter. And so yeah, this is kind of long and heavy, but I spent a fraction of the higher cost alternatives to this. I also like that this tent is green in color, so it's good for stealth camping. You don't want something that's neon orange if you're trying to not draw attention to yourself. I like that the tent's a 2-person tent. I could have gone a little lighter going with a 1-person tent, but then I wouldn't be able to store my panniers and items off the bike in the tent with me. So that was my justification for that tent. And tent poles, or tent stakes, I should say, that come with the tent have a reputation of not being very strong. And so I got a set of upgraded tent stakes, and these are better for pounding in. They're not going to bow and fold when they're hit, and they have these nice cords for pulling them out of the ground. Which reminds me, I need to remove the existing tent stakes out of here to save a little bit of weight. Next item that you see here is the sleeping bag. If you're familiar with Western mountaineering, you probably recognized this color. I owned in the past a Western mountaineering sleeping bag, and I loved it, but it was just sitting in my garage getting no use. And so a little over a year ago, I sold it, and my wife had one also. I had a Mega Light Western mountaineering sleeping bag. They're made in San Jose, California, super high quality, really good quality down and baffles and stitching and lightweight material. So I got really lucky on this one. I found this on Craigslist for $125 from a gentleman who was moving out of town, and he had purchased it to hike the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain with. And he only spent a couple nights in it because he said there's all these great hostels along the way. So this is a Western Mountaineering Summer Light model, and it comes with this stuff sack. I don't keep it in the stuff sack because you don't want to store the down compressed. Slide that in here, and then underneath the sleeping bag is my sleeping pad. This is a Thermarest Pro Light 4, and it's full body length. It's self-inflating, so right now the nozzle's open right here, and yet it's still inflated because there's some foam in here that self-inflates it. Again, I store this not compressed because it's good for the foam on the inside to keep it shape. But the difficult thing is, well, I love how lightweight this stuff sack is, but my goodness, they should have made this thing half an inch wider in the mouth because it is so difficult to fit into here. Next, if I need a couple more degrees of warmth in my sleeping bag, I have this silk sleeping bag liner, which fits the whole 6 feet of the sleeping bag. And on warm nights, I could sleep in just this. This thing's super small, lightweight. I love it. Something that goes along with the Thermarest pad, sleeping pad, is this accessory. And I'm not certain if I'm going to be bringing this yet because it's so long, but this allows you to stuff the Thermarest pad into this frame and it becomes a camping chair. Now, it's not a camping chair that sits above the ground. It still sits on the ground, but it's nice and comfortable and you can adjust how far it reclines. The thing is, the longest dimensions here is pretty long, and when I tried putting it into my panniers, I had to put it in at an angle. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be bringing this. I'm also not sure if I'm going to be bringing this alternative, which is an REI FlexLight camping chair. So it's, I think, 1.6 pounds, if I recall off the top of my head, and it is a luxury for sure. Like, I find myself debating, am I going to regret not bringing this and wanting to sit on a comfortable seat at camp, you know, that sits above the ground, a nice mesh back, it all folds down into this shape. Is this worth the 1.6 pounds of taking it? Not sure. I'm still debating on this one. And then this is a fun item I might use for an occasional night of sleep or, you know, a midday rest. It's a hammock, a very cheap one. I think it was around $10, that comes with these great, I won't open it now, but it comes with webbing that loops around trees, and you can put the carabiner at different places. So it's super easy to set up. This doesn't have a bug net or anything. It does not have a rain fly. So it's not a proper camping hammock, just a little hammock for a different way to lay down. And when I'm sleeping, a pillow would be nice. This one, when I bought that first Western Mountaineering sleeping bag, the one that I sold, I think this came free with it. And this uses the same down and fabric in there, and it'll take a second or so to get its shape. And so this is nice and soft. Maybe it's a bit too soft. You know, when I put my head down on it, it sinks kind of far down. That's why I think in addition to this pillow, I'll also be bringing an inflatable pillow, this guy right here. So this one will offer a bit more support and raise my head a little more. I'll inflate it for you. That was just 2.5 breaths to fill it up. And I might bring something like a pillowcase so I can put that around here, be a little more comfortable. At home, I sleep with 2 pillows. I don't know if I'll go with that luxury on my route this summer, but these are my pillows. And the pillow compresses down into this tiny little stuff sack here. So it's very light and doesn't take up much space. Next item is a sit pad. This thing is like 30 grams. You can barely feel it when you're holding it, and it's not that big. This is just keep it on the top of your panniers, one of the first things, so that whenever you stop, if there's not a seat, just plop this on the ground. It'll keep your butt dry and a bit more comfort, or if I have to sit on pavement or a hard bench. That's what this sit pad is for. Some lighting. First one is a headlamp, and this is kind of a unique design. Usually you see headlamps with, you know, the beam right here. This one does have a beam on the side, but the primary means of illumination is this bar across the top. So it does more of a general illumination than a spot illumination. If I press this power button enough times, then it'll turn on the spot on the side. There it is. Next lighting is for the tent. This is a solar light, and I've been told that this solar panel will charge the light for days. So it's not like I need to perpetually keep this on the top of my rear bag on the bike for it to remain charged. But it's inflatable. I'll inflate it for you. One breath is all it takes to inflate this, and the idea is there's a strap on the top, and this stays hooked to the inner top of my tent, and then the power button down here gives us 3 different levels of lighting. And this has been in my garage for several days, so it doesn't have a charge. It's been in the cabinet. So this offers a nice diffused illumination for the tent instead of a single harsh spot, because the surface of this is cloudy. Next is a microfiber towel, and use this for when I jump into a swimming hole or a hot springs or a lake and want to dry off, or for drying off after a shower at a campsite, if showers are available. And our last item in camping is a length of paracord. And this is pretty strong for how small it is. And I foresee using this for a couple purposes. One is to string up a clothesline if I want to dry some wet clothes or my wet tent. And second is for when we're going through the Rockies, I will hang my food in a bag from here over a tree so a bear cannot get to it. That's it for camping. For clothes, we'll start with the underwear. I'm really comfortable in ex officio boxers. Those are great and dry quickly and don't smell. Next, I prefer to bike in full length biking tights down to the ankles, not shorts. And the reason is I'd rather do that and be a little warmer and not have to put on sunscreen than be in shorts and be applying sunscreen all day. Just my personal preference. For cycling jerseys, long sleeve one, here it's high vis, it's ridiculous and obnoxious, but that's my long sleeve one. I did some research on high vis and it does work during the day. It does get more attention during the day. At night it does nothing. It does have a reflective strip on the zipper and some on the back. But I guess when you're on a recumbent, right, the back of your jersey isn't necessarily exposed to drivers behind you. It just gives you more visibility to people in front. For my short sleeve jersey, I'm really happy with this one. This is an eBay find, but look at the design on that. Isn't that fantastic? America by Bicycle. It even has the bicycles going in the direction I'll be going from San Francisco to Yorktown. And I looked up this company, America by Bicycle, and they even have a website, abbike.com. And it doesn't look like they're in business anymore, but I think that they provided supported trips to cyclists going across America, and they were very expensive. Next, arm sleeves. So when I'm wearing the short sleeve shirt or short sleeve jersey, I like to wear the arm sleeves. I read that these keep you actually warmer in cold weather and cooler in hot weather than wearing a long sleeve shirt. Again, same reason I keep my arms protected is to avoid having to put on sunscreen, protect my skin. For long sleeve non-lycra spandex jerseys, I have a couple merino shirts. Both are icebreaker, long sleeve in blue and short sleeve in green. And merino is a great fabric. It dries quickly and doesn't smell. You can go a long time without washing it. Just can't put it in the dryer. So when I dry these, they have to be dried on a line. Next, shorts. I actually weighed what shorts do I have that are the lightest, and they were these running shorts, and I really don't like the color, but they were They were on sale. My wife got them for me, and these will be the shorts that I keep on the bike, and a swimsuit. I debated not bringing a swimsuit and just using, my tights or underwear when I went in a body of water. But I thought, you know what, for the small amount of weight that it'd be worth it. I also considered compression shorts, but these with the flamingos on them, this is less scandalous than the compression shorts. Moving on to outerwear, we'll start with the bike helmet. This is Smith. I tried on some Smith helmets at REI and really liked the way that they fit and found my size. I didn't purchase it at REI. I got it on eBay at a nice discount, and I think that color is kind of fun. It's a matte color. They call it cinder, but it's very orangey. And then this is an item that I'll probably just have for the beginning of the trip through the Rockies, because in late spring, there's still snow on the ground likely, and those mornings can be absolutely frigid. So this is a down vest that I would wear underneath my windbreaker. And this is a Patagonia product. It comes with its own stuff sack. Nice product. I've had that forever. Don't remember where I got it or how much I paid for it. And then this is a highly compressible rain jacket / windbreaker. And it's by a company called 33,000 Feet. It has a hood that's built into the collar up here with Velcro that I can access. And this is quite comfortable. I've enjoyed this, and I've used it certainly for a windbreaker, but I haven't owned it yet and been able to ride in the rain, so I don't know how good of a job it does at that. And this stuff sack is great. It could come in an even smaller stuff sack because it compresses so nicely. For rain pants, I have this old pair of Patagonia rain pants. Again, don't remember where I got them or how much I spent on them. I was also thinking, when I need to do laundry and I'm doing laundry for all my clothes, I think I'm going to look like a Russian mobster in track clothes, because I want to wear my rain pants and this windbreaker when I'm there at the laundromat, looking like a mobster. For gloves, I got a pair of full finger gloves, and the little zipper here is, I think, if you wanted to put in one of those little heaters. I won't be doing that. I do like that a few of the fingertips are capacitive, so you can still touch a touch screen. It's not to the point where you could certainly type anything out on a keyboard, but you can press a button for an app or move to the next track if you're listening to music. I love fingerless gloves. They keep sun off my hands. On an upright bike, they'd be nice for a little more padding because you have weight on your arms. On the recumbent, I don't, so it's mostly used for some sun protection, and if I ever did fall and the hand went down, this would protect it well. Some mittens. These are obnoxious, huge Gore-Tex mittens. I used to wear these when I would shovel my driveway in Flagstaff. But again, these will be used going through the Rockies when it's frigid in the mornings. And I have ridden in these here, and I can access the shifters with my thumb here, because the thumb both up and down shifts. And these really block the wind nicely too. A neck gaiter. So this is like a tube of stretchy material. It goes over my whole head. I can keep it on the top, and then I can put it up over my nose too, so I just have my eyes showing. Or I can just have it around my neck to block my neck. Again, it's so I don't need to put on sunscreen on my neck. This blocks it. And I do not really feel much warmer than without this, so this doesn't add much warmth, thankfully, in the winter. And I could use this also on cold mornings to block wind from my ears and neck and face. I have just a simple cap, and it's the same color with a terrible clash as my helmet. But a lot of the helmets that come with built-in visors, this doesn't. The visor is so short. And the reason is because when you're on a bike, your head's down. If you had a long bill to that, visor on the helmet, you wouldn't be able to see far ahead of you. On a recumbent, when you're sitting back, then a hat with a bill is perfectly fine. So this fits nicely under the helmet. And if I'm walking around in a town and need to keep sun off my face, it's Speaking of sun, the shades I went with. So I originally had, I wear things like aviator sunglasses, but those aren't really made for cycling, and I frequently had to push them back up my nose because they would slide down. I thought, you know what, if I'm doing this all summer, I should get a pair of cycling sunglasses. So this is from a brand called Toiletries, and they kind of compete with Oakley, but at a much lower price point. And these are called the Toiletries Rail sunglasses, and these are a phototech lens. They call it phototech. It's photochromic or photochromatic. So as UV light hits these lenses, they get darker. And I was originally going to travel with a pair of normal sunglasses and a pair of clear glasses, because when you're riding in the rain, you don't want those raindrops going into your eyes. That's annoying, and always having to blink them away, right? And when you're wearing darkened sunglasses, then it's too dark if it's raining. So I've been in some darker conditions in these and been really happy with them. There's never been a point where I've said, when it's been sunny, I wish these got darker, and there's never been a point when it's been dark when I said, I wish these were lighter. So I think they do a good job of changing the amount of light that goes through. This is a bug helmet. I shouldn't say a bug helmet, a bug net that sits over a hat. And so when the mosquitoes are bad in the Midwest, this will keep my head free of those mosquitoes trying to bite me. I am prone to getting a lot of mosquito bites. I'll remove it from the box when I leave because I don't need this box next to it, but this thing barely weighs anything. And finally, a stocking cap or a beanie. Again, that's probably an item that'll just make it through the Rockies and not beyond that. That's my outerwear. Here's a quick category for you, footwear, starting with socks. I have a couple pair of merino wool socks. These are Icebreaker brand. Great, merino's a great material or fabric for socks because you can wear them multiple days without them getting smelly, but you have to dry them on a line, not in a dryer. Then I purchased one pair of waterproof socks, and these do in fact work. You put your hand in this and put it in a sink of water, that hand is staying dry. So quite impressive product here, and we'll see if they keep my feet any warmer or more comfortable on a day where we're riding in the rain. Then what I'll be wearing on the bike are these pretty ugly moon boot looking things. These are Shimano GR9 cycling shoes, and these are really made for mountain bikes. They're flats. I don't ride in clipless pedals, but they are a super stiff sole. It's really difficult to bend these, so it allows you to use kind of your whole foot, even though only part of it's on the pedal because the soles are so stiff. I also like that there's a Velcro hiding the cinch strap here, so I can't get anything caught in my crank or my pedals. I weighed my flip-flops to see what the lightest pair I owned were, and they were these Teva Mush flip-flops. And so those will be great for, around camp or when I'm going to a body of water. And I'm still debating, am I going to bring a third pair of shoes? If they would be, they'd be these. Again, I weighed all of my sneakers. And what's the lightest pair of sneakers? They were these with Vibram soles. And they're quite light. And they're the opposite of these with respect to the sole. They just bend like crazy. So these are comfortable and kind of something in between the flip-flop and the cycling shoe. And yeah, they're ugly as well, but not as ugly as this for walking around town. It's time for cooking and drinking. First, utensils. I prefer using a longer spoon. This is just a thin, cheap little iced teaspoon. And a butter knife for spreading. I like peanut butter. I assume I'll be using tortillas, and I prefer using a proper knife over a plastic one. Then a can opener. I went to the dollar store and got the cheapest, lightest can opener that I could find. And this will do for cans of beans or fruit or other canned items on the trail. And then inside of here is the cooking system. So this was a cheap product that contains 2 pots that nest on top of each other like this. All right, and each of these pots has handles that come out. So if I'm boiling water, I can protect my hands from the hot stove. I think these are titanium or something. And so here is the smaller one and the larger one's on the bottom. Inside of here is the camp stove. And this has feet that fold out, and it is self-igniting. So I don't need a lighter. I still might travel with one. This is a sponge thing for cleaning and scouring the pads, and then inside of here fits a canister of camping fuel. The stove top screws onto here, and then the pots then go on top of here. So I can boil some water for things like oatmeal or ramen or heating up soup. That's my cooking system. And in terms of hydration, the 2 water bottles that will be staying on my bike are Camelback Podium Ice water bottles. And these are a little heavier than the normal Camelback Podiums, but they are supposed to keep water colder longer. And I did watch a YouTube video where somebody did a comparison of Camelback's products, and these did in fact keep the water colder longer. So a couple ice cubes in here, and hopefully I can have some cold water to last me throughout the day. I also like these because they have screw tops that can prevent the water from coming out. Because when you're on a bouncy bike and these are full, this does in fact squirt out onto you. Then I have 2 collapsible water bottles. And this allows me to store a lot more water when I'm going long stretches that I know water won't be available. Like there's some stretches in Nevada, there's some stretches in Utah. These are both Platypus brand. One is 1 liter, the other's 2 liters. So between the 4 of these, I think I got around 4.5 liters of water. But I think most of the time, just these guys will be filled up because water's heavy, right? And then I use these electrolyte drops, and a few drops of these, maybe 10 drops in a bottle. And this is, the equivalent of Gatorade, right? It has potassium and magnesium and sodium to keep my salts up and my hydration levels good. In Toiletries, we'll start with soap and shampoo. These are hotel-sized soap, hotel-sized shampoo. I'll need to have those, and yeah, it'd be nice to not have to buy soap and shampoo and go with a bigger one, but that takes more weight. So I imagine I'll be able to collect when I stay at hotels these along the way, so I won't add bulk. This is a product called Camp Suds. I found it in my camping equipment, and apparently based on the description, this can be used to wash hair, it can be used to wash your body, and it can be used to wash dishes as well, Camp Suds. So I figured I'll bring that. Next, travel-sized toothpaste, and I really like flossing with these stick flossers. Way easier than simple string floss or even those little mini disposable things. So that's what I floss with, and then a toothbrush with a toothbrush cover, because this thing will be all, crushed by other products in my panniers. I want to keep the bristles nice, so that's what I'll be bringing. Next, SPF lip balm, and that's great. Lips get chapped pretty easily from wind and from the sun, so this will be frequently applied all summer long. And then this is a rechargeable beard trimmer, and when you take the cover off, this is a short hair trimmer, so this will keep my facial hair looking groomed decently. And then this is a product that I should have never received. It was an eBay order gone wrong. I actually ordered something that was completely different from this. It was an SSD, an internal SSD, solid state drive for a computer. And they sent me this mini shaver. I don't know if they're running some scam or something. Anyhow, I communicated with them, got my money back from eBay, and got to keep this mini shaver. But this thing is super cheaply made. It does charge via USB-C, but I can use this to shave the parts of my face that I wouldn't be using the beard trimmer on. And yeah, this is probably a $2 value. Not very high quality, but figured it's super light and easier for a trip like this than taking my full shaver. Nail clippers, just be bringing one. Yep, I'll be doing my toes even with a fingernail clipper, Just one less thing to carry. I will not be bringing this big thing of sunscreen. I'm going to get a smaller, maybe something that's this size that I can put sunscreen into, because wow, this is heavy, heavy, heavy. But for sure sunscreen, and like I've mentioned before in this video, I try to avoid having my skin exposed to the sun. So largely sunscreen will be something I'll be putting on my face. I have no idea if these work. These were again found in our camping equipment, and they are these coiled bracelets that are supposed to keep mosquitoes away. I don't know if they work, but they're light enough that I said, what the heck, I'll give them a try. Not pictured here is picaridin lotion. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I've read that that's better than DEET or OFF at repelling mosquitoes. I need to order that still, but I think that's going to be a 4-ounce bottle of that I'll start with. And then here's my little first aid kit. I got some pills in here, some ibuprofen PM, some bandages, and I'll probably put some Imodium AD in here as well, maybe some Pepto-Bismol, but keeping that all in one place. Hopefully I don't need to use it, but it's here if I need it. And I found some remnants of toilet paper that I put into a bag for when I need to use that and I'm not around a proper toilet. Earplugs, because for sure campgrounds can get noisy and people can stay up late. So I'll probably have a few pairs of these, but here's just one of them. And then I know that I could purchase at any laundromat, single-use laundry detergent, dryer sheets, but I thought, let's travel with a few. So I got 3 pods for laundry and a few dryer sheets in this bag here. That's it for toiletries. Tools and maintenance is the next category. I'll start out with this handheld pump, and this has a means of changing it between 2 modes. The first mode is getting a lot of air in, so it's good if you're pumping up a tire that is completely fresh or flat. And then there's a high pressure mode, which doesn't put as much air in it, but makes the pumping easier. And it has a built-in gauge on it. Don't know how accurate it is, but it gets the job done in a pinch. Here's some patches and a patch repair kit for patching a tube, and I'll have a couple tire irons with me. And then tubes. An unfortunate thing of riding a long wheelbase recumbent is that the front and rear wheels are different sizes. So I have a 700C tube for the rear and a 20-inch for the front. I'll probably be traveling with 2 of each, actually, which adds to the weight, especially these 20-inch ones, because the 20-inch front tire is really difficult to get in a Presta valve, which is what I have. So that's kind of a unique tire, and not all bike shops along the route are going to have something this unique. Next, when I'm working on the bike, your hands get all greasy. So I have a pair of rubber gloves in here that I can throw on if I'm working on the chain and keep my hands relatively clean. Next, I have a chain breaker tool right here, simple little chain breaker tool, and then a multi-tool. This has things like hex heads and screwdrivers and everything I would need for accessories and items on the bike. And then this is just a Leatherman clone, a real cheap one, but it has the needle nose pliers, and then in the sides some things that flip out for a knife and other tools and screwdrivers. But it's certainly not a full-size one, pretty light, cheaply made. For lubricating my chain, Paul actually told me that this probably is not the best product. I was recommended this product, said it's good for dry climates here in Tucson. But when we change my chain, which Paul's going to help me do, we're going to wax my chain. And he's going to recommend to me, I'll take whatever recommendation he has for chain lube and replace this with whatever he recommends. And then a handful of zip ties, cable ties, just hold something up in an emergency until I can get something more permanent. These are pretty lightweight, easy to keep on the bike. For bicycle accessories, I'll mention some of the products I have here, and others are still on the bike, so I'll have separate footage showing those. The first is my headlight. It's a Saigo Light Metro 400, and it came with the bike that I purchased. It has, unfortunately, a USB mini connector. So this is the only product that I'm bringing that requires a USB mini cable on it. but it has good modes. It has the flashing mode for daytime and some steady modes as well. For my tail light, I'm using one that pairs with my GPS. It's by a product called IGP Sport, and this is a radar tail light. So in addition to giving me, a flashing light, it also beeps my GPS head unit whenever a vehicle is approaching from behind, so I don't need to constantly be looking in my mirror. Next is a remote control for the bicycle's vibration alarm, and this works like a key fob on a automobile. I can arm it and disarm it, so when I'm leaving my bike, locked up, but with all of the items in the panniers, and I'm going into, say, a grocery store or a restaurant, I can arm this, and then the slightest movement of that bike, and it emits a super loud, like 113 decibel noise. My GPS head unit is from IGP Sport, just like the tail light, and it has a color screen. I'm using this instead of my cell phone because this thing has a battery that can last a few days of riding. I think it lasts 20 hours. And so it's much more efficient with its battery use than a cell phone. The downside is the GPS it has can only follow a track. So it can't calculate a path from point A to point B, but I've uploaded onto this device each of the legs of the journey, and then it gives me those turn directions. It also serves as my bike computer, so I get my speed and my average speed and my current grade that I'm biking at, incline, decline, like that. And what else? I will also be traveling with a Lamicall phone mount that I keep on the right side of my handlebars. On the left side of my handlebars is a Rock Bros bell, which is super loud, 90 decibels, and it gets people to move off to the side when I'm on a bike and walking trail. I'll be traveling with a bike lock and key, which I do have here. This is what I've been using right now. I do have a kryptonite D-lock, but that thing is so heavy, so I think I'll be traveling just with a cable lock like this, although I'll probably be replacing this one with a combination lock because I would fear that I would lose that key. We'll talk about luggage now, starting with the panniers. These are from Ortlieb, and they're huge. They are 35 liters each, and it's roll top, so it's waterproof, and they have this extra pocket in the front that I think I'll use for, I don't know, certainly my flip-flops could go in here, things that I don't mind getting wet because this front part is not waterproofed. They have a great mounting system where you can just lift this handle and it takes it off the rear rack. And there's different cartridges you can put in here based on how thick your rack is. And so it's a nice tight fit. And this thing down here adjusts so it clamps the bottom part of the rack. And these are really stable when moving. Everybody knows about Ortlieb's. They're certainly the most well-known brand of panniers for bike tourists. And then I have two of these, just showing you one, but these mount onto a couple of things that look like water bottle cages on the front forks, and they're 3 liters each. I was told that on a recumbent, you should try to put some of the weight on the front of the bike instead of having it all in the rear, not because of risk of your front wheel lifting, like on a bike, but just to not stress the rear of the frame so much and to balance that load. These also are roll top and waterproof. I think I'll be keeping things like food and other heavy items in these front fork bags. Next is this nice little strap system that I'll be using to keep my tent on the front of the bike. I could keep it horizontally or vertically. Right now I'm thinking of doing this vertically because I have this front rack that I can put the weight of the tent onto. And this is better because you get all these inches of clamping around the tent instead of just 1 or 2 straps. This tiny little thing, what is this? This is in fact a full 24-liter backpack And so when I'm off the bike and I want to grab my valuables off it when I'm going into a restaurant, this is what I'm going to grab. It's super, super light and it compresses really small, but it has decent mesh straps, and the stuff sack is built into it. I can put that inside. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to using this thing. I was originally planning on using just one of those string backpacks that you get for free when you attend a conference. And then I read some reviews on this and thought that looks like a way better solution and something that I would use on other trips. Finally, I have a few stuff sacks, just extra stuff sacks that I'll be using for clothes and other items. Did I miss anything here? Yes, my rear trunk bag is a Baigio, 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 if that's the correct pronunciation, 11-liter trunk bag. I like it because it has the main compartment, 2 side compartments. It's a rock solid mount onto the rear rack. And I think that's it for luggage. Let's talk technology. I recognize that this is something I'm probably more likely to splurge on weight-wise than other people, just because it's my hobby and my interest. Other people might bring more clothes or more toiletries or like a full spice rack for their cooking. So I realize I'm not like the typical Transamerican cyclist with this. But the item that you see in the middle, my MacBook Air, will be making the trip with me. And I'll be needing to do some work on the road, so this will allow that to happen. I'm going to slide it off to the side now, since I am actually recording onto that computer. I really dislike trying to use a mouse without a mouse pad. And you're like, but there's a trackpad on the MacBook Air. Yes, there is, but I'm just so much more productive using a physical mouse. So a little neoprene mouse pad and a neoprene case for the MacBook, and that fits inside. I also am traveling with a very thin, lightweight Bluetooth mouse, and it recharges with micro USB, and so I'm a bit more productive with that. It has its own case. Also a micro SD card reader, since the drone and the action camera use micro SD cards. This allows me to get those off. This is a unique one because you have USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other. So I don't need to use a dongle on the MacBook Air. It's an M1 MacBook Air, which only has USB-C. Next is a external SSD, and this is 4 terabytes. So all the photos that I take and videos that I capture, I'll be storing onto this. Also, since the MacBook Air doesn't have much internal storage capacity, this is actually where I have the apps like Photoshop and Adobe Premiere Pro to do some editing on. I actually keep those applications on this SSD, and it's fast enough for that. Next, a Kindle Paperwhite for reading, and I'll enjoy this at camp. This is one of the ones that has, they don't call it a backlight, they call it a front light. And so I already am starting a reading list of what I want to read this summer on the road. iPhone Pro Max is here. I'll probably finally upgrade my phone when the 16s come out, maybe in September of 2024. But this is doing the trick just fine. It can record in 4K for videos for this channel. And next, my action camera. This is an Insta360 X3. Unlike GoPros, which just film one direction, this films 360 degrees. There's lenses on both sides. And an accessory that you almost need with this camera is called the invisible selfie stick. It's called invisible because there is an algorithm in here that when it's recording, it actually removes this from the footage, so you don't see it in the footage. I also have put on some Velcro here on the sides, and I'm going to put a couple windscreens on. So when I'm on the bike and I want to record a message, this is what I'm going to be doing it on. Or if there's something interesting, I'm going to have a quick release mount for this on the handlebars of the bike and be able to just quick pick it up and film something. Another great thing about 360-degree cameras, I don't need to like frame myself correctly to get the right shot. I could have this thing all haphazard out here, tilting it any which way, and the software that you use automatically stabilizes it and locks the horizon. Pretty cool device. And this is just a zip case for it to protect the lenses. I do have some plastic lens covers on here. Unfortunately, they add some glare to the image, but that's better than getting a scratch on one of the lenses that you can't clean up. And when I want to do cool shots with the action camera, I can mount this to various parts of my bike and run that selfie stick out. Like when I can put this behind me on the bike and kind of get that over the shoulder view. And this allows me to do that with a clamp. I have a higher quality, heavier one, but oh, that is so much heavier than this. I think I'll be using this. And then with the Insta360, there's a stupid little accessory. They call it like the bullet cam accessory. And basically, I created one of my own after watching a YouTube video of how to do it. But you screw this on the end and you run out the selfie stick and you spin this around you, right? And it records something they call bullet time. I'll probably use it 5 times on the trip, but it's not that heavy of an accessory to carry to get those really interesting shots. I'm sure you'll see a few of them along the way when I record them. The speaker that I will be mounting to my handlebars of my bike is this one. It's a Tribit Stormbox 2 Micro, and it attaches to the bike with this strap in the back. So it goes over the handles and connects here on the bottom. The thing is, by itself, what the speaker was doing is it was sliding down to the point where just after hitting a few bumps, the speaker was pointing down at the ground from the handlebars. So I put on my handlebars a couple of the kind of like the housings for mounting a light, and that keeps it locked into place and keeps it from twisting on my handlebars so that the speaker points up to my ears. I've really been enjoying this. This is what I'm using right now, my lapel mic, and there's some accessories, and that gets stored in this case. In terms of portable batteries, oh my, I would love to take this, but this is so heavy. I'm not sure if this is going to make the cut. The good thing about this is, number one, capacity. It can, recharge a phone, 5-6 times, whatever. It can even recharge my MacBook. And smaller ones like this can't do that. But this is one that has an excellent weight to battery capacity ratio. There was some tests done on a YouTube video I watched, and this is from a brand called Veektomix, Veektomx. It's a 10,000 milliamp hour, and I think this one is 30,000 maybe. It's the Anchor 737. It even has this pretty display on the front that tells you its capacity. This whole thing will charge up if you're using a powerful enough wattage AC adapter. It will charge up in like under an hour and a half. So it's pretty amazing, but don't know if it's worth the wait. AirPods, not for using when I'm riding on the bike, but if I'm at camp and want to listen to music, or sometimes I fall asleep listening to audiobooks, and if there's other people in nearby tents, I don't want to disturb them. Here's a little mini tripod for getting some shots, and I have an attachment on here which is actually a MagSafe attachment, and so I can really quick release it and put it back on instead of typical clamp mounts or what you see on phone tripods. So if I want to get a drive-by shot, I can do something like that, or I can use this as a selfie cam instead of trying to hold the phone by itself. And then the drone. So this was a recent purchase, and I'm really just using it for the trip. I think I could get some fun footage. It'd be a fun thing to do when I'm stopped and resting and relaxing, because it doesn't burn many calories to fly a drone. And this is a Mini 4 Pro. I did get a case for the remote control, because otherwise you have to remove the thumbsticks on the drone remote control, or else they'll get crushed. And so with this on here, I don't need to worry about that. And this also serves as a sunscreen with even a flip down thing here. So if I'm trying to fly this thing in bright sun, it can block out the sun. And then there's 3 battery packs. These are the extended capacity battery packs. I got this on a great Best Buy refurbished deal. And the really unique thing about this whole battery charging station, if you look on the side here, so you can charge it with USB-C, and then there's also an output USB-A. So if my phone battery dies and my external battery pack is dead, I can plug my phone into this and use these batteries to charge it. Pretty ingenious. Here's the drone itself, which folds up nicely. I'm sure you've seen these fold up. And there's another strap that goes around here that protects the rotors. And that's this guy, if I were to collapse this all down. And then this case holds everything for the drone. It's about the size of like a big binocular case. I think that's it for technology. I think I've covered everything. My dream at the end of the trip is to be able to say, I'm glad I brought the items that I brought and omitted the items that I omitted. And of course, bear down and go Wildcats.